How I got catfished by someone who knew my schedule. We spoke for 3 months. Every conversation felt effortless, timed perfectly, like they just got me. They messaged on my breaks, called on my days off, and somehow always knew when I was free to talk. At first, I thought it was connection, chemistry, something rare. Turns out, it wasn't magic, it was access. The person I'd been chatting with wasn't who they said they were, and they knew everything. My shifts, my route home, even where I'd be on Saturdays at 11 a.m. This isn't just a catfish story, it's how your routine can be weaponized against you. I'm 34, work full-time as an NHS admin in South London. Between rotas, commuting, and occasional weekend shifts, I don't exactly have time or energy for the dating scene. I'm not on Tinder. The last time I opened Bumble, the app had logged me out for inactivity. So when someone added me on Instagram, I didn't think much of it. Their profile looked normal, local. A few food pics, some gym selfies, couple of memes. Nothing screaming weirdo. We had 3 mutuals. One of them I actually knew from 6th form, so I figured, harmless. At first there was no flirting, just casual replies to my stories. That cafe's banging, or, wait, are you in Croydon? He had this very dry, very British sense of humour, called himself a functioning tea addict. We bonded over awful Southern Rail delays and shared trauma from GCSE maths. His name was Jay, said he worked in IT contracting. Flexible hours. Sometimes worked nights, sometimes days. Explained why he'd pop up at odd times. I didn't feel suspicious. He didn't push for anything. We just talked. Voice notes, memes, the occasional, how's your week been? Like someone just around, reliable, comforting in a weird way. It felt safe, familiar. But that's exactly how it was meant to feel. And I didn't realize how carefully that comfort had been crafted not until it was too late. Over the next few weeks, the chats turned into a regular thing. Nothing intense, just consistent. We'd message most days, little check-ins, random memes, voice notes with bad jokes and sarcastic commentary about the news. He seemed to pop up at all the right times. Mid-lunch, after work, just as I was settling down with a cuppa and Netflix. Never overbearing, never needy. Just there like a digital friend who always knew when I was free. He started mirroring my schedule. Oh, you're on a late shift today? Same here. Weekend off? Lucky you, I'm finally free too. It felt natural, too natural. Maybe, but at the time, it just felt easy. He remembered things. My dog's name Biscuit, who I'd mentioned once in passing. My favorite sandwich spot near the station, he joked about trying it one day. Even my local Wednesday pub quiz night, which I'd only posted about twice on my story. It's strange how quickly you can start relying on someone you've never actually met. I'd get home and check my phone, almost expecting a message from him. And sure enough, ping, there he was. We talked about everything from how awful NHS vending machines are to childhood cartoons. There were no red flags, no weird questions, nothing sleazy. It didn't feel like flirting, it felt like comfort. Like someone actually seeing you in the blur of life. I started looking forward to it. In a world full of ghosting and dry weird texts, he felt like the opposite. Stable, thoughtful, real. And that was the scariest part. Because someone knowing all the right things to say can feel like love, or safety, or finally being understood. But sometimes, it's just someone who's been watching long enough to play the part perfectly. After about a month and a half, I suggested we video call. Nothing major, just a quick FaceTime. It felt like the next step, right? He said sure. Then 5 minutes before the call, messaged, Wi-Fi's acting up. Can we resched? Fine. Life happens. But the next time? At my cousin's, signals pants. Third try, no reply till the next morning. It became a pattern. Every time we got close to real contact, something got in the way. I joked, you catfishing me or something? He laughed. Hardly. I just work in IT security, gotta keep a low profile online. That made some sense. His job was always a bit mysterious. Contracts, NDAs, that kind of thing. But still, it felt conveniently vague. He sent me a few photos over time, nothing dodgy. One at a cafe, one of him with a dog, one outside what he said was his gym. But none were tagged, no visible usernames, no timestamps. Just neat little snapshots, like he'd cherry-picked them. Then came the moment I couldn't shake. We were talking about how chaotic my week had been. I'd picked up an extra shift. He replied, "Yeah, I figured you're still at the Croydon branch, right?" I froze. I'd never told him that. I mentioned I worked in healthcare admin. I'd posted a story once with a blurry ID, badge barely legible. But I never, not once, said which branch I worked at. When I asked him how he knew, he said, "You mentioned it ages ago, I think." But I hadn't. That was the first proper chill down my spine. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe I had said it. Maybe it slipped. We'd been chatting for weeks, I'd probably overshared at some point. But something about the way he said it, like it was obvious, it stayed with me. Not enough to cut him off, but enough to plant a seed of doubt. And once that seed was planted, it didn't stop growing. It started as a hunch I couldn't shake. One quiet Sunday night, curled up on the sofa with a cuppa, I finally gave in to the creeping doubt. I Googled his name. First name, last name, then combinations with London and its security. Nothing came up. No LinkedIn, no Facebook, no ghost of a digital footprint, which, for someone who worked in tech, was weirdly blank. So I did something I'd never done before. I reverse image searched one of the photos he'd sent the one outside the gym. And there it was. The exact photo, same pose, same outfit, on another profile. Different name, different location, a totally different story. But clearly the same man. My heart dropped. Suddenly things snapped into focus. His replies were always reactive. He never shared his day, just responded to mine. If I said I was tired, he'd say, "Same, it's been a long one." If I mentioned finishing late, he'd reply, "Still at it too." It wasn't a connection, it was a script, one based entirely on my cues. So I dug deeper, went back through old app accounts. And that's when I found a tan old fitness app I hadn't used in over a year. My profile was still public. My work location, gym, even my sleep and wake times were all logged, like a digital diary. Worse, I had several random followers, one with no profile photo but a username I didn't recognize. Account created just months ago. Or maybe it was someone closer, someone from work, or the gym, or even the pub down the road, someone who saw me regularly and decided to build a digital mask. Someone who never revealed their real identity, but used the little pieces I'd shared online to stitch together something believable. He didn't just guess my schedule, he already knew it. He didn't find me online, he followed me digitally, quietly. For weeks, maybe longer. The realization was gutting. I hadn't just been catfished, I'd been studied. My routine had been used to mimic closeness, to fake trust. And I walked right into it. The moment I saw that reverse image search result, I blocked him. Everywhere. Instagram, WhatsApp, even on the app I hadn't realized he was following me through. I deleted old accounts, scrubbed through my Facebook privacy settings like a woman possessed. But the sick feeling didn't go away. I kept asking myself, who was he really? Was he just some random online creep? Someone from work who recognized me? A gym regular who never said a word but saw me post one too many location tags? I'll never fully know. And that uncertainty was the worst part. It stuck in my chest like a lump I couldn't swallow. Every time I walked down the high street or scanned the train carriage, I wondered, was he ever watching in person? Had he seen me walk my dog? Had he ever followed me? The betrayal cut deep, but it wasn't romantic. It was personal. Someone had taken the small, harmless things I'd shared, me shift patterns, my routine walks, my sandwich order sand, used them to build a version of me they could access at will. I felt stupid, embarrassed, violated. I went full lockdown, deleted apps I didn't use, changed usernames, removed public check-ins, scrubbed story highlights, turned off location tracking. I even called my mobile provider to ask if my number had been cloned. And the thing is, it wasn't one big mistake. I hadn't sent money. I hadn't shared my national insurance number. I'd just let my guard down. I'd forgotten that in 2025, it's not just passwords you need to protect. It's your patterns, your habits, the crumbs you leave without realizing. My routine wasn't just familiar to me, it had become data. And someone had watched long enough to use it against me, not for theft, but for connection. A fake one, built with chilling precision. I stopped going to the pub quiz for a few weeks, switched my shifts around, told work I was cutting back on social media, not that I could explain the real reason without sounding paranoid. But I wasn't paranoid. I'd been a walking schedule and someone took notes. And once that happens, you don't unfeel it. You just get smarter, colder, a little more private. It wasn't about money. They didn't ask for bank details or try to con me out of some grand investment. It was worse. Someone used familiarity and data to play with trust, and I let them, because it felt comfortable, reassuring, easy. They didn't kick the door in. They used the spare key I'd left under the mat. Every detail I'd ever posted, my shift selfies, gym check-ins, lazy brunch shots, those can't wait for pub quiz captions, they weren't just throwaway updates. They were breadcrumbs. And someone followed them all the way to me. The scariest part? It didn't feel like a scam. It felt like connection. But in 2025, scams don't always show up wearing a hoodie, typing in broken English. Sometimes they show up in your DMs with decent banter, perfectly timed replies, and a profile picture that looks like someone you'd actually speak to in real life. Sometimes, it's not a fake email. It's a fake friend, and they know your calendar better than you do. So here's the truth. Your schedule is private data. Your routines, habits, even your moods, they're trackable, predictable, valuable. Don't overshare in public forums. Don't assume someone remembering details is always a sign of chemistry. And if someone always knows when you're free, question why. It doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you aware. And these days, that's the only thing that keeps you safe. Think this could never happen to you? I did too. I wasn't naive. I didn't send money. I didn't fall for a click this urgent link text. What I fell for was familiarity, timing, trust built slowly, using details I never thought twice about sharing. If someone's replies always feel perfectly timed, like they know your lunch break, your commute, or your weekend plans, they might not be psychic. They might just be watching more than you realize. It's not always about romance. Sometimes it's just someone testing how far they can go with a digital mask and a bit of data. So if you've ever thought, that's weird, how'd they know that? Or if your gut said something's off, but your brain made excuses, this story's for you. Your routine is valuable. Your patterns are private. Protect them like you would your PIN. Follow for more real UK scam stories that don't start with hello dear or my dearest. And hit subscribe if you've ever posted something and then thought maybe that was a bit much. You're not paranoid, you're just learning to protect your peace.